Hi, I'm Jen Williamson, the host of the Unshakeable Family Series. Today's special guest is Dr. Carmen Harra. Dr. Harra is an internationally acclaimed intuitive psychologist. She's a best-selling author, a radio show host, relationship expert, I love that, and a TV personality. Dr. Harra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jen, for having me. And I appreciate what you're trying to do in helping so many people establish better relationships.
Yeah, establish better relationships, absolutely, for the whole family. But what I'm really excited to talk to you about, because you are so great with this, is the subject that nobody's really comfortable talking about. And it's the intimacy piece. So, you're really good about talking about emotional intimacy and why that's so important to a marriage or to a relationship. So can we just start there?
Yes. Well, people think of intimacy, they think of the physical intimacy. Some people think of the intercourse, but the most important relationship between two people is actually established at the level of their emotions. That's why emotional intimacy is the glue, the piece that connects two people together long terms. And one of the reasons relationships don't survive the test of time is because they don't have that emotional intimacy piece in place. They don't actually really understand what this is all about and how it functions. When in fact it's very easy to establish that, because we are very vulnerable emotionally. The human race is all about feelings and feelings. So feelings will be displayed in a relationship in a big way between the couple. So if you don't understand your partner's emotion, if you don't understand what he's going through, then you don't establish that connection at the emotional level. And sooner or later, you disconnect from your partner, though at the very beginning, you felt the chemistry, you felt the physical attraction, you felt this is the person for you. And as the time goes by, if you don't work on establishing emotions that will work together, and you're not aware of his emotions, then slowly, there's a disconnect, and you will see sooner or later a divorce happening, in which we don't want. So emotional intimacy is, as I said, the glue that makes a relationship survive the test of time. More so, it brings two people closer and establish a wonderful dynamic of a relationship. And it's very easy to be accomplished, because if you pay attention every single day to your own emotional self and your partner's emotion, how they unfold during the day, what are his worries, what is his fears, what is his anxiety all about, how does he function emotionally, then you as a wife, as a life partner, you can participate in connecting with him at a deeper level, at a more profound level, and, as I said, build that foundation of a very solid life together in time.
It's so good. And this really, really hits home for me, because, a lot of people don't know this, but Willie and I went through a really, really hard time when our kids were little. And there was, for the men that are watching, I know a lot of men watch the show as well, or watching this series.
Right.
Willie at the time, my husband at the time, thought that sharing an area that he was struggling with inside was a sign of weakness.
Exactly.
And what happened was, I saw it as a sign of disconnect. And then what happened was the gap got really big between us, to the point where we almost didn't make it. And what a shame, so we really get to really communicate and have that deep connection. It is so incredibly important. And the other thing that I want to point out, and obviously so much more about this than I do, but the other thing is, a mistake that I was making is, I was making it about me, right? When it was really about him, and how could I support him and be there for him during that time. I was looking at it like I wasn't doing good enough, and I was failing at something. So
you are so right. And you should never look at being failing. You should look at how can we continue to build and build and build, one step at a time. And there's a beautiful phrase that says, through the pain you create the miracle, through the, because there's suffering involved, when you see that your partner is not sharing with you what's inside him, and you consider that you are the one not doing enough. So that creates a lot of suffering. Talking about negative emotion and pain and frustration associated with something like this. But the more you work on communication, because communication is key, but not any kind of a communication that targets your emotions. And I always tell people, men and women, both of them, to check on a daily basis on the dominant emotions, because there are emotions that dominate our life. And if when you wake up in the afternoon or at the evening, you question yourself, what it is that I feel emotionally. Am I angry? Do I feel jealousy? Do I feel frustrated? Do I feel insecure? Do I have a panic? What is it exactly that I feel? So then start writing down during 7 days, 3 times a day, your dominant emotion. And after 1 week, you understand your dominant emotion. Do the same thing with your partner. And if you work on that dominant emotion, you can take care of it. It's exactly like taking care of anything that is significant in a household. But emotions are the number one factor. And our major weaknesses come from unhealed emotions. And if you allow unhealed emotion, they grow like weeds, and they expand into creating barriers and blockages between couples.
Yeah.
And then people that actually love each other a lot, they have beautiful kids, they build an amazing family, just because of a disconnect that is emotional, they cannot make it in time. And that's so sad. That's why we address this issue. We want people to listen to this exercise to find your dominant emotion, work on that emotion, control it. Emotion should be embraced. Emotion should be acknowledged. If you don't acknowledge what dominates you, that you might be probably a very jealous person, and you refuse to admit that, or you might have severe anxiety or insecurity about your own self, and work on that. Things can be changed. Emotions that are negative can be easily replaced with positive emotion. But if you don't know that you have them, you cannot shift that, so it's all awareness that plays a role.
Okay, I love this. So for the viewers that are watching, let's say they realize that their dominant emotion is anger or fear. What is the next step? What do they do?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So the moment you reach after 7 days, it's like that takes 7 days are pretty much enough for you to come to the realization that this is the number one emotion that controls me. Now I have the power to switch. It's like you switch something in the brain. Sometimes emotion program the neurons in the brain. They program the manifestation of behavior. So that emotion becomes a pattern of behavior, because you're insecure, you will start acting like an insecure person, though you claim you're not. So here's where you in the discord with your own reality, and you become in denial with your own reality. So when you work in acknowledging, hey, maybe I'm insecure, or maybe I'm jealous, and I pretend I'm not, but I act like a jealous woman, and I display a pattern of behavior. So you work on reprogramming. The brain can be constantly rewired. The negative side of this statement is that people continue to play on the negative program over and over and over, and then they wake up marrying, divorcing 3 times for the same reason and not knowing why. When it's so simple, if you reprogram the mind into switching from a negative pattern of behavior that has the source as a negative emotion and switching it into a positive emotion, the problem goes away like it's never been there.
How is that switch done? How, walk us through the switch.
So the program of the mind happens many times, more or less conscious. Many of the programs of the mind actually are staying in the subconscious mind. So we operate a lot in the subconscious. Micro subconsciousness is 90% of the brain, you know, the right side of the brain versus the left side of the brain. And we operate on the cognitive behavior, but the subconscious mind, being 90% of our reality, is the one that plays a trick with us constantly. So that imprint, you know, will trick you and continue, you know what I mean, to manifest on the daily reality. So when you become aware, that's why I give people this exercise of becoming aware of the dominant emotion and the wrong program. When you see, well, I've been programmed negatively by a very long time. Programs that are negative can go back to your youth. A negative program can come from the background of your family. Yeah. A negative program can come from being bullied in school, or from failing in your first relationship, or for your mother telling you you've never been good enough. So you never know where the program comes from. Or a negative emotion is already having a powerful imprint. So how you work on that, you become aware of it. You know what I mean? And you consciously, that's why affirmations are powerful. You tell yourself every day, I'm great, I'm good. My marriage is wonderful. My man loves me. You know, I have no issues. So you start reinstating by talking, because the words have so much power within ourselves, and they are the one rewiring the previous imprint. So you slowly delete the previous information, replacing with a new one. It's not an easy process, because you have to keep on doing it and keep on doing it, and you never give up believing in it. You know, I used to say you never can go beyond your belief. If you believe that this can be done, then you will be amazed what a wonderful turnaround of situation, events, or circumstances you can create this way. And it's very simple, nothing complicated. It's not too sophisticated, and it's not impossible. You don't necessarily need to see a psychiatrist or be on medication for this. You can do it on your own.
So good. So good. So powerful. This is awesome wisdom. So we're talking really about the couple, right? The two partners, or husband and wife, but how does their emotional intimacy really affect the whole family dynamics?
It does affect it in a big way, because let's say that your partner goes through a very difficult time, and nowadays in the world we are living in, you know, people lose their jobs, you know, and they try to process a very difficult reality in different ways. And sometimes men especially cannot explain their sadness, their fear, their dissatisfaction about a situation, and they are holding it in, you know. And you just see that your partner doesn't speak about, refuses to communicate about the things that worries him. But you will see a disconnect, and the dynamic of the relationship is sinking in, is going down. And all of a sudden you become like two strangers who have nothing to talk about, and you feel like everything is going down and is falling apart. So a woman role, that women have this ability to be switching from being wives, being entrepreneur, being whatever they want to be. Women have this ability to switch way quicker than men. They can embrace on so many roles in a life. They are mothers, they are daughters, they are wives, they cook, they do everything possible. And so they have this ability to reestablish a communication. So they are the ones that have to open constantly the channel of communication, provoking the men in their lives to talk about what bothers them, so that the dynamic doesn't go down, that the communication continues to flow, and your significant other gets the help that he needs by seeing things in a different way. Because when you close, you close your mind and you close your perception, you see no more hope, and that makes you feel depressed. And reality is that the world we are living in is on a brink of a severe depression, is on a brink of a constant anxiety at every level of our being, because we see what's going on. So more than ever, communicating positively and seeing the light through the darkness is very powerful, it's very empowering. We need to empower our partners to see that this is just something that will pass, and we are together into this.
So one of the things that Will and I did, actually as a family, but it really started out as a communication, like a conversation with us, is we said,
Right.
we are actually going to use this opportunity to be even stronger, because, you know, it still seeps in regardless of how you protect your mentality. It still seeps in. So really, individually, us as a couple, and then us as a family, we've all really dialed in our communication, and also how to build what I call a very strong emotional immune system with our morning.
Oh, I love this. This is beautiful. It's sad.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because emotion can actually damage the immune system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, the irony is we are actually thriving in the pandemic, but it won't happen without it being super intentional. Literally every single
Genius.
day we commit.
It's brilliant. What you're saying right now is just brilliant.
Thank
Because
you.
at the end of the day, you know, the dynamic between two people has a lot to do with their immunity, you know, with their immune system that can be expanded at the level of the emotional system. So that's where we're more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I always recommend people to go ahead and dance together, even if you're in the house, you know, play your music and start moving around, because movement exercise does work on the immune system. You know, and talking to each other and telling stories to each other and laughing. It's so positive. Don't go down, you know, don't look at the darker side of the road, look at the brighter, you know. I know it's easy to say, but people should try to implement these simple things in their lives right now.
It all adds up. You know, we look at it like deposits into the emotional
Right.
bank account, you know, and when we make it as our habits that we just stack onto what we do anyway, it becomes really autopilot.
Well, what you create as a habit turns into a pattern of behavior.
Absolutely.
So what I always recommend people pay attention to, as you pay attention to your emotion, pay attention to your pattern of behavior. So not only you detect your own emotional, dominant emotional and your emotional self during the day and during like a week or a month, but also detect, you know, and your vulnerabilities, but it detects the pattern of behavior that is the consequence of a dominant emotion. So, and that can be switched. That exactly like you switch an emotion, you indirectly end up by switching your pattern of behavior.
So good. You know, so, you know, Willie and I both, we joke and say that we PTSD, we post-traumatic growth. We both have had trauma.
Right.
We joined the Navy at 18 to create better lives for ourselves. And we, you know, when we're triggered, our words can actually grow the trigger into something bigger, or our words can diminish it. We have that choice. And when we focus on that space between the stimulus and our response, that's really where the magic has been in our marriage and our communication. To like, it just takes the power out of the trigger with speaking in solutions rather than complaints.
That's so powerful. I really believe that everybody should write this down and put it on their wall. You know, that it's all about speaking solutions. You know, and not people complain a lot. And complaining again will create a pattern of behavior. So you become somebody who will always have something negative to say about your state of affairs, what's happening in the world. And without even realizing, you will turn into a miserable person in time. And you will not be able to be creative or construct anything with this way of being. Yeah. So I so applaud you for saying this, and everybody listening should think about, let's be constructive in the darkest time. You know, sometimes chaos is necessary for progress. Yes. So we are progressing and we are coming together and we are creating a cleaner world, a better world, a healthier world. This is time to go inward and heal all your feelings. Heal everything, like you said, post-traumatic stress disorder, that's so common. And if the world is going now to a trauma, a collective trauma of the collective mind of the planet, you know, the humanity goes to a collective trauma. Yeah. But if we are aware of it, and if we are working on replacing it with positive action and being good towards ourselves, and not being afraid, because fear is the worst virus. Let's not be afraid of what's happening in the world. And let's continue to work on ourselves, on the people around us, on the dynamic of a relationship. Let's make the world a better place by healing ourselves first. So you said it magnificently. You said it the correct way, the right way, the brilliant way.
Thank you. Well, and let's just talk about the complaining a little bit more, because, you know, I want to really bring this to parents, really spotlight how you are talking to your children, because a lot of parents really are just venting or complaining at their kids, talking about the problem rather than talking into the solution. You know, stop yelling, you know, parents will say to the kids when they're fighting, rather than let's be kind and nice. And, you know, and so just like what you said, Dr. Harra, about like how it stops the creativity and how it just stifles us, if we're not super conscious about the way we're speaking to our children, we're passing that on and stifling them.
Exactly. And you know, kids are the future of the world, and the way we relate to them, and the way we are their examples, you know, that they look at us and they take from us emotionally everything that comes from us, they integrate, and it will be reflected later on in their lives. Yeah. If we'll only acknowledge how much we can damage the future of a child, but acting the wrong way in a circumstance like this, and not giving him the hope, and not making him see the light, and scare him more than he is already scared, probably by his friends, or by simply sometimes watching the TV or talking to a teacher. So he always, a child, in no circumstances, in whichever circumstances, a child needs to be told only beautiful things. A child needs to continue to dream. A child needs to see the brighter side of things, because he needs to project that in his life later on. So we establish, when kids are growing, we establish those patterns of behavior in them. And as I said at the beginning, probably some of us, we struggle because our own parents were not handling the situation correctly with us. So we have to be more mature. We don't have to repeat the same mistakes that our parents did. We have to learn from that and be inspiration to our kids, and make them feel like this is their opportunity to be even more creative. Staying home is fabulous because they spend more time with their family. They get to play more, and that the world around will improve and will get even better than ever. That's the message that kids need to get from us, not the message of fear or something bad is going to happen to them.
So good. So good. Oh, the timing of the show is perfect. And I'm so glad that I have you on here to share your wisdom with everybody, because you're so on point. So let's talk now about the busy working parents, right? So maybe they're going to the office still, or maybe they're working at home and they're homeschooling and you know, picking up conference calls and Zoom calls. How do they still create the emotional intimacy with their spouse, you know, with all of this going on?
Because what people need to understand, that the priority of their life should actually be the emotional intimacy, because emotional intimacy means being healed. Yeah. Emotional intimacy means being one. If the world altogether will create emotional intimacy, this world will be in unity. The problem that we face in the world was broken, and we got to a point in which it's almost like divine energy. If we believe in the divine, told us, wait, come together, put all the pieces together, you are one. And I'm giving you this pandemic to learn that you are one. And emotional intimacy makes you feel like one, because you touch on your feelings or your emotion and you create that unity. So I feel like the first thing that anybody is still going to work, or anybody who has any kind of a doubts about what's happening, the first thing that should come in their minds when they wake up in the morning is that, hey, I need to work on my emotion first, and I need to establish that emotional intimacy with my whole family, and then I'm gonna feel that I'm thriving, then I'm complete, I'm entire, I'm unhurt, I'm unchallenged, you know, I'm whole. It's all about being whole, being complete. Then nothing will touch me. The outside world cannot touch me. then the virus is just an illusion, you know.
Yes.
It's all about that before anything else. Doesn't matter what other activities we're doing. The number one activity is working on our feelings.
So let's give some, like, do you have some exercises that you could help like a couple or individuals so they can really strengthen their emotional bond or strengthen their emotional self?
I think that the best exercise is when they start you know, coming together in visualizing things. Let's say a couple wants to buy a beautiful house. No, they don't have a home. And this is a crazy time when people don't even think whether they should or should not buy a home. But let's break the barrier of time and let's come together. You know, two couple comes together and they close their eyes and they initiate this visualization in which they tell each other, let's see this beautiful home. It's on a hill. It has French doors. It has the second floor where the kids can play. It has a beautiful backyard, all these flowers. So you start, because reality reflects what the mind projects. So creating time to visualize, to project, to affirm the things that you need. All your needs right now should come stronger than ever. So I highly recommend that a couple should come and start projecting this kind of techniques of meditating together, you know, seeing beyond the moment and seeing their dreams come true. And seeing the dream, visualizing them by talking about whatever they thought they can never make happen. Let's for a moment forget about not being able and make them really happen in our minds, and see them translating into reality a month later, 10 months later. But this is the way a couple comes together with the same intention. Two people that have the same goal. They see things the same way. They have the same desire. They have the same dream. That builds the unity of a family. And those are very healing and simple techniques. You know, this visualizing techniques exist for centuries. But using them in a time like this is very empowering, and it's very healing and does bring people together in their intentions.
That's really good. That's really good. It's funny because Zoe, we're all big into our vision boards, which we have as screensavers actually on our phones and on our devices. So we're bombarded with them all the time. But every time I have a friend over, we have 20-year-old twins. Zoe is always, because she's the artist, she's setting them up with vision boards.
Yes.
On their devices, because, you know, she can just whip it out super quick. And we're super, super intentional about that because it does keep us in alignment with those goals. And, you know, this is what I want the viewers to really get. And I already know that you're going to really support this. Stay out of the how it's going to happen. Stay out of the details. Because
it doesn't matter how. Just see beyond the process.
Yeah.
See the final thing. See, it already happened. It's like you project for a moment that, okay, we had our differences, but let's for a moment see ourselves being very happy together in a new home that we always wanted to have, or whatever other dreams. So let's see ourselves that we already built that company that we always wanted to have. As impossible as it might seem, don't be afraid. We live in the field of infinite possibilities. In our minds, everything is possible. If we open the door to the infinite possibilities, they translate into possible, regardless of the environment or the situation we are living in right now. So that's why I want people, when they want to do their healing work, to project things beyond time and see them already achieved. Like you see your dream, you already grasp the things that you always wanted to have. It's already in your hand. Your dream, you touch your dream, you see it is yours. It's your reality.
You know what's coming to me as you're saying this, Dr. Harra? Basically, when we visualize, what it does is it negates self-limiting beliefs. It really
totally. Yeah. Totally.
Great. That's great. Well, you are a gift. I'm so glad that we had this time together. I know that the audience is going to want to find you online. How do they find you and follow you? I'm a fan.
Very simple. I mean, Carmen Harra, CarmenHarra, on Instagram, on Facebook, carmenharra.com, my website, Carmen Harra. Anywhere you put my name, you find me. My radio show. You find me on television, on different shows, on NBC, talking about emotions and all kinds of issues that we want to work on. So, and Carmen Harra at AOL, if you want to send me an email, you know, I always respond to people if they need any kind of guidance or help. I'm always here. I made this my life mission more now more than ever. You know, I feel like people need to be empowered. Yeah. People need to see beyond limitation more than ever now. See beyond this moment in time. See a better world coming, emerging from this.
So good. So good. I mean, it's really our job. You know, when you talk about the collective consciousness, right?
Right.
It's really our job to, you know, for the planet to show up whole and strong, right?
Right. Well, the planet was, my opinion, was broken, you know, and we need to redefine life on Earth on different principles, on different man-made laws, you know, probably infusing more the laws of the divine that are so perfect and so harmonious. Absolutely. And so complete. And that's why we need that world in which everything might change completely from the scratch, but it's definitely going to be a new world ahead. Yep. And from time to time, to centuries of evolution, the world needs to be changed, you know?
And it's every one of our responsibilities to be part of the movement for good, right?
So true.
It's really part of that. So I'm so glad that you're on this. Thank you for just, for, you know, you're just something about your energy is just awesome. I love that I got to share you on the show. So
oh, you're so beautiful. I love you. You're so beautiful. You're such an inspiration. You, your beautiful family, your amazing kids, your energy is like superb.
Thank you. Well, you know,
I love you and I'm grateful.
We're blessed and it's intentional. It doesn't happen by accident, as you know.
Yes.
Well, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Much love. Thank you.